Before I opened up Star Real Estate, I had 12 houses and a fourplex. Those same houses right now in Fountain Valley and Huntington Beach are worth about $1 million, $1.5 million. Okay? That's right.
Yeah.
I know some other people that have this philosophy. You buy, you never sell. I didn't actually graduate. I quit because I decided that wasn't my future. I wanted to have my own business.
We're here in Newport Beach, California. One of the most expensive places in the world. It's pretty expensive. Look at the boats. We're gonna interview a retired real estate broker. He started off as a real estate agent, worked his way up, started buying houses, flipping them, became a broker, and now he's retired. He lives in Newport Beach, California. We're gonna get a tour of his house. He's gonna explain how he started. Let's go.
But again, we're not selling my house, so.
This is like a, yeah.
This is so cool.
A great saying. Anything that happens, racing is life. Anything that happens before or after is just waiting. That's Sterling Moss. He was in Formula One, and this would have been in the mid to late 50s, okay? So he's been kind of my hero since the 50s. You see the second picture, the Mercedes? That's the Mille Miglia in Italy. It's a 1,000-mile race through little towns and everything. He raced that thing for 1,000 miles, average of 100 miles an hour. Unbelievable. That record will never be broken because it also killed people because there were spectators that got hit and stuff. It's supposed to be a man and a woman. That's small stuff. I used to live in San Juan Capistrano. Yeah, right by Ortega Highway. I always went up and down that street, and I love this bike in the canyon. But other than that, it's a very uncomfortable bike.
How much do these go for?
I don't know. Actually, I made a mistake. I wanted this here because of the color. Back then, a sport bike like this cost maybe $6,000. I was going to put my RC30. RC30 was $16,000. When I put this here, I ended up selling my RC30 for, oh God, probably only about $10,000, $12,000, and they're now going for about $60,000. So I should have kept the RC30.
How did you get started in the real estate business? What made you decide to help people buy and sell homes?
I was going to college, and I was majoring in economics. And first of all, I realized in order to do anything in that field, you have to have a master's, probably a doctor's degree. And that really wasn't going to happen for me. I just wanted to own my own business. That was my main function in life. I wanted to own my own business. And I had a roommate in college, and he ended up inheriting a little bit of money. With our credit cards in hand, we started buying houses, meaning one house at a time for like, back then, $18,000 to $25,000. That was our range in Midway City. We would move in, fix up the house, and then sell it, make a few bucks, and then buy another one. And then after doing about 5 of those, I realized, wait a minute, the real estate agent is in business for himself. That's how I decided I wanted to go into real estate. I could be in business for myself. I graduated from college in '69. And I got my license in January 1970.
Would you say the college degree helped?
I don't know if it helped. It helped me to understand maybe basic economics and so forth. But no, selling is basically you have to be out there, and it's a totally different. And I'm not a natural salesman, you know. So it was tough for me at first. It took me a couple of years to kind of get going. You have to find your niche in that business, and it took me a couple of years to find that.
What qualifications or licenses do you need to become a real estate broker and run a successful residential real estate business?
Okay, I don't know about the successful part. That's a whole different issue, but that's small stuff. I used to live in San Juan Capistrano, but first of all, you have to have a real estate license. If I'm not mistaken, you have to be a real estate licensed agent, I think 4 years, and then you can apply for your broker's license unless you have a college degree.
Okay.
And I said that I graduated from college in 69. I didn't actually graduate. I quit because I decided that wasn't my future. I wanted to have my own business. So I had to wait the 4 years, and then in 1974 is when I got my broker's license. So then in 1977, he came to me and he says, do you want to do something together? Like open an office? But back then, most offices, the commission splits were 40 and 50%. And I thought, going in that business and doing the same thing, how are we going to compete? Well, I had actually read a book that was written by a broker in Florida on the 100% concept. And so we actually flew to Florida, talked to him, then decided we're going to open a 100% concept office, which we did in 1977. But then as far as actually building a residential real estate office, you can't just open an office and have agents come to you and say, oh, well, we want to be with you. You have to know people. So I and my first partner, we had done really good business in town in Fountain Valley and Huntington Beach. And we were well known. And so right away we attracted some really good agents. And that's how you open up a residential real estate office.
We've seen one motorcycle that you had in your house.
I love this bike in the canyon. I've had plenty of others. I actually went to high school in Japan, so I started riding bikes there back in 1962. I got into that, ended up having, I don't even know, probably about 30, 40 bikes.
At one time?
No. At one time was, the most I ever had at one time was 15. I could park them downstairs.
Oh, well.
And then I got tired of maintaining 15 bikes, so I got rid of everything except for 3 of them. But then I got more excited about buying more, so I got more. I got 15 again. Yeah. And then I started racing motorcycles. But that wasn't that terribly successful because I started way too late in life. And so I crashed a lot.
Would you say that was like your one of your biggest splurges?
I had cars. I like cars and motorcycles. And the other splurge, I guess you would call it, is traveling.
And back to the real estate. If someone wants to do what you did to become a real estate broker, what steps would they take?
Well, I think you have to start by just getting a real estate license. You have to find an area that you really want to work in, whether it's Newport Beach or on the beach somewhere, or find an area that you want to work in, go to a successful broker in that area, and start selling. And then as far as opening your own office, that's a whole different mindset. And then if you want a residential real estate office, it's about not building the most beautiful office in town. You have to have people that want to come and work for you.
So it has to do a lot with relationships, like you said.
Everything has to do with relationships. That's what it's all about. And then once you have that residential real estate office and those people, they are your clients. I always looked at my agents were my clients. I have to do whatever I can to make them successful. That's the mindset you have to have. And then treat them right. Always be honest, always do the right thing, and then people stay with you. I had agents that were with me between 30 and 40 years. It's a long time.
That is a long time.
What was the most difficult part of building this?
You know, I got to be honest with you. I was very lucky. I think timing is always plays a role in this. My timing was really kind of perfect. I didn't know it at the time, but I got into it. Probably about the first 8 agents that came with me were the top agents in Huntington Beach. So everybody looked and said, wow, well, if they're going over there, then I guess we have to go. So that gets the ball rolling. The name I had was Star Real Estate. You know how I got that name?
Yeah.
When I got the first 8 agents together, we were at somebody's house and we were going to talk about what we were going to do. And we said we're going to call it a McDowell Vaughn Company. My partner's name was Vaughn, Dick Vaughn, and mine is Frank McDowell. And they all looked at me and said, "You're crazy. That's a stupid name. Nobody knows how to spell that. We're not doing that." So I got upset and I said, what do you want to call it? And I said, "I just saw Star Wars. You want to call it Star Real Estate?" And everybody jumped on it, and that's how we got Star Real Estate.
Nice. Why do you think the top agents went?
Again, relationships. I knew them. Dick Vaughn knew them. We had come up with a kind of a new concept. We were the first, what you call a 100% concept office in the area. RE/MAX actually came to California after we opened up in Huntington Beach. So, and that's a 100% concept office. So I think we just had a relationship with these people and they trusted us, and we explained the commission split that we're going to give them, which was a lot better than 30 or 40%, whatever they were being charged at that time. It always comes down to people. It comes down to relationships. There's some brokers out there that are very knowledgeable and they're on top of the business, but they don't have the relationship within the community, real estate community, to draw the agents. And that then becomes your business as a broker. Your business is not selling houses. I personally haven't sold a house to a client since 1979.
Oh, wow.
That was the last time I ever sold a house. Then I just ran the business. Whether we had the one office or then opening another office. And then whatever the agents needed, whether more training or whatever, that's then what the broker does.
And if you could start over again, is there anything that you would do differently? Any mistakes that you made?
First of all, once you make a decision to go in a certain direction, you really should just stick with it and not give up until you succeed. But I think what I would have changed if I look back is continue buying real estate. Before I opened up Star Real Estate, I had 12 houses and a fourplex. Mind you, those houses were bought for about $20,000, $25,000. Those same houses right now in Fountain Valley and Huntington Beach are worth about $1 million, $1.5 million. Okay? So if I would have just kept those, I would have been in pretty good shape. But I should have just kept buying real estate, because if you want to retire comfortably, it's about having assets. And in Southern California, our real estate has appreciated tremendously, as we all know. My problem was I had those houses, I managed them myself. I got to the point where I just couldn't stand being a landlord anymore. I'm sorry about that, because I wish I wouldn't have felt that way. But I did take the money and put it into the business, building Star Real Estate. And my thought was, okay, I'm not going to buy houses. I'm going to build a company that eventually then I can sell. I sold Star Real Estate to Seven Gables, but not for the kind of money that I could have had, if you would, if I had bought real estate, because of the appreciation. I mean, when you think I bought those houses for $25,000, they're now worth about $1 million, $1.5 million.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a jump. Now that's just those houses. But if I would have kept buying them for 30 years, I mean, I know another broker who ended up having 5,000 doors, meaning 5,000, apartments or houses.
Yeah.
He just kept buying, so.
5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you start hiring people for.
Well, yeah, of course. No, he didn't manage those himself, but I mean, look at Donald Bren. The last I heard, he had 50,000, and that's besides all the shopping centers and Irvine company that he owns. So it's all about building assets.
And keeping them.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I know some other people that have this philosophy. You buy, you never sell. And you don't keep leveraging it. I know another broker, he's actually still in business, I think, that at one time had 100 homes. He lost them all in the early 90s when the market went crashing, I think. because he kept leveraging it. So he had no equity really in anything. And then when things got tough, it gets tough really, really fast. I can actually tell you about an agent that was with me for 20 plus years. He owned 12 houses before he got into real estate. Again, he bought them for around $20,000 back then. His goal was always just to pay off the mortgages, never borrow against it. He still today owns those houses and lives in Coast Newport, travels 3 big vacations every year. He's very well off.
He's doing well.
Yeah.
Buy and hold, hodl.
Yeah.
What do you think is important, making money or doing something you love?
Okay, we live in a world where money is important.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do anything without money. You can't go out and eat, you can't travel, you can't do anything. So that is important. But no, I think the most important thing is you have to enjoy what you're doing. Now, in my life, if I want to say, okay, what was your overriding passion in life? It was probably racing.
Mm-hmm.
But I never had the opportunity. I wasn't a mechanic. I didn't know anybody that raced. And so I never really got into it except on a hobby level, you know, a weekend kind of little racing here and there. But you have to enjoy what you're doing. And so when I decided in my senior year, I was my last semester in my senior year when I decided to quit college because that wasn't getting me anywhere. I was never going to use that degree. And I knew sales in real estate, I think, was the key for me. Even though at first it was a struggle. I even talked to a friend of mine who got in about the same time as I did. When we talk about the business back then, we loved it. It was a different business than it is today. It was just a different way of doing things. It was a different way of connecting with other realtors. It was fun. I mean, I literally got up many mornings and just thank God that I found this business. I loved it.
How did you invest your money throughout your career?
Well, again, that was a regret. I wish I would have bought more real estate. But again, then it got more expensive too. So I kept putting my money into my business.
Okay.
I opened up more offices and got more agents and built the business to a pretty good size. But I've never been a stockbroker guy. I didn't like people in Wall Street working my money, you know. So
While you were in business, how did you handle economic downturns, like in '08?
well, like anybody else, panic at first. No. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these downturns, there's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. There was a point, this was in the early 80s, interest rates went up to 18. People are screaming now that it's 7?
Yeah.
18. Okay? So I personally never thought it would go below 7. So that was a tough time, but you work through it. You, when you're running a business, you have to cut costs, you have to tighten your belt, and you move on. You just back then we had a lot of sellers would carry paper. You know, there was that kind of financing where it wasn't financing through the bank because who can afford 18%
18%.
interest rate? So, you know, you just go one day at a time and you hope you make it to the next day and then things turn around and you move on.
Works out.
I went through 3 big downturns.
But do you think there's going to be another one coming up? Where every few years there's another one, right?
A downturn, you mean?
Yeah.
There should be, well, there is somewhat of a downturn right now, you know, but they're all different. You can never, you know, people are saying, well, it's going to be a bust like it was in 2008. No, that was a totally different financial downturn. This time the problem is 98 or 93% of the people out here have 2 and 3% interest rate on loans on their house. Okay, so now they don't want to sell their house to go get another house and have a 7%. So that's the tough part. But you know what? People are still buying because there's so little inventory. Prices are actually still going up. So, but you know what? You can't worry about the downturns.
Okay.
When I first got into business, actually, in 1974, I think there was a really big downturn. And you couldn't even get a loan. You actually call the bank, you couldn't get a loan at all.
Wow.
But you know what? I was so naive. I had just gotten into business. I didn't really understand what was going on. All I knew is, you know, somebody out there wants to buy a house and somebody wants to sell a house. I just got to be in the right place. Sometimes we overthink a lot of this stuff,
Yeah.
but business is still being done.
Last question.
Yay! Oh,
Yeah,
no.
that's fine. I like the honesty. Looking back at your career, what is the proudest financial accomplishment you achieved as a real estate broker?
You know, I got to be honest with you. I don't look at it as a financial, but my proudest thing is that I built a business where people, I think, enjoyed working there. And so I ended up having a lot of good agents that became good friends. We worked together for 20, 30, sometimes 40 years. And that's very rewarding. That's all you really want in life. You know, you go through your business career and there's going to be ups and downs. But if you can have good people around you and make it enjoyable, that's all that matters. You know, I mean, I didn't become super wealthy, you know, but I ran a good business. People liked it. We all got along and again, you got to enjoy life, you know? Well, you know what? Again, even the financial this is more than double of what I bought it for. In fact, quite a bit more than double. But who knows that when you're buying it? I'll give you an example. My very first house was in Belmont Shore. You guys know Belmont Shore in Long Beach?
Yes.
I've heard of it.
Long Beach.
It's a
Yes.
wonderful, wonderful area. Great area. I bought the house. I was 1 block to the bay and 2 blocks to the beach. So I was right downtown and, you know, it's just a cool area. Little 2-bedroom house. It was built in 1928. And I bought it for $24,500. I sold it for $27,500. Now, I bet you they're going for around $2 million. Okay, so who knew back then, you know, I should keep this house because it's going to be worth $2 million. You don't. You just go day by day, and you have to have goals. I mean, that's one thing. And my goal was to build a successful real estate company in that area, and have that my business forever, really. You know. But then the time came when it was just the right time to sell, and I did.
Well, thank you so much, Frank.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time, truly. It was great